Liam Hawthorne adjusted the worn frameless glasses resting on his nose, squinting at the vintage analog clock above the counter. It was 5:45 a.m. The Golden Spoon, a fixture of the city's old money district, was due to unlock its doors in 15 minutes, and Liam intended to be the first person inside. His choice wasn't driven by impatience, rather, it was a deliberate strategy. As the new unannounced owner, Liam, the 38-year-old tech mogul who had secretly acquired the struggling establishment, preferred to observe his business in its vulnerable, unscripted moments, watching it stir to life before the chaos of the morning rush descended. The face he presented this morning, 3 days of stubble covering his usual clean-shaven jaw, a faded baseball cap pulled low, and a threadbare denim jacket, was a world away from the GQ-ready entrepreneur usually seen on the cover of Forbes. The acquisition had been handled entirely by his legal team, a meticulously constructed layer of blind trusts designed to keep his identity hidden from the current staff and management. Liam was a firm believer in the principle that true diligence required immersion. He needed to understand the hidden rot beneath the polished brass exterior of the historic diner before he could successfully implement his multi-million-dollar revitalization plan. He had built his empire by solving problems others overlooked, and the sudden, steep decline of a beloved institution like the Golden Spoon smelled less of poor market fit and more of internal, solvable decay. The chime of the glass door, a sweet, old-fashioned sound, echoed slightly as Liam pushed his way into the warmth. The air was thick with the scent of griddle grease, toasted rye, and freshly brewed coffee, a comforting yet slightly stale aroma that spoke of tradition and neglect. The color palette was classic Americana, dark cherry booths, tiled mosaic floor, and walls painted a muted sunflower yellow that seemed to have faded along with the diner's reputation. Liam chose a corner booth near the back, providing him with a vantage point to observe the entire floor plan, from the bustling kitchen pass to the front register. Only 2 employees were visible. Behind the counter, an older gentleman was mechanically stacking heavy stoneware mugs, his movements curt and punctuated by sharp glances toward the kitchen door. Then, from the swinging stainless steel door, a waitress emerged. She was dressed in the diner's standard uniform, black slacks, a crisp white shirt, and a hunter green apron tied snugly around her waist. Her dark blonde hair was gathered into a no-nonsense ponytail, but it was the profound weariness in her deep-set hazel eyes that instantly captured Liam's attention. It was a fatigue that seemed to emanate not just from an early start, but from something much heavier, a constant emotional drain. She approached his table with a practiced, almost robotic smile. "Good morning, sir, and welcome to the Golden Spoon. Can I get you started with something?" she asked, her voice a low, steady alto, clearly striving for a cheerful tone that her eyes betrayed. Liam briefly glanced at the small, oval name tag pinned to her apron, Clara Vance. "Morning, Clara. Just a black coffee, please, large, and no sugar or anything else." "Sure thing, black coffee," she confirmed, jotting the order down on a small notepad. "Anything to eat? Our buttermilk pancakes are fresh off the griddle." "No, thank you, just the fuel," Liam replied, meeting her gaze steadily. As she turned to walk away, a shadow seemed to momentarily cross her face. She paused, her shoulders slumping slightly before she straightened herself with a small visible effort. Liam, a man whose success relied on reading micro-expressions and shifts in body language, immediately registered the fleeting change. Clara returned moments later, placing the heavy ceramic mug of steaming coffee on the table. As her fingers briefly brushed the edge of the cup, a near-silent sigh escaped her lips, a sound barely louder than the hum of the fluorescent lights. Liam leaned in slightly. "Did you say something?" he inquired, his tone low and genuinely curious, adjusting his borrowed glasses. Clara froze, her hazel eyes widening imperceptibly, as if she had been caught speaking a forbidden truth. She tightened her grip on the notepad she held pressed against her apron. "No, sir, my apologies. Just thinking aloud, maybe." Liam didn't press, taking a slow sip of the bracingly hot coffee, but his gaze remained steady on her. "I'm certain I heard something that sounded a little heavy." She glanced quickly toward the counter, where the older man was now angrily rearranging napkins in a metal dispenser. She hesitated, her jaw visibly clenching beneath the thin layer of makeup. She took a swift, shallow breath, then leaned in slightly, whispering so that only he could hear. "I said I'm just surviving. Just surviving, you know? It's not professional. Please forget it." The 2 words, just surviving, struck Liam with an unexpected force. They were not a complaint about an early start or a difficult customer. They were a profound statement of emotional defeat, a concise summary of persistent injustice. He lifted an eyebrow. "It's that bad here, is it?" Clara immediately retreated behind a wall of diplomacy. "The diner has its challenges, sir. Customers can be demanding. We have good days." Her attempt at a cheerful recovery was undermined by the tight line of her mouth and the tremor in her hand as she moved to brush a stray crumb off his already clean table. "I'm good at spotting sincerity, Clara, and you're failing at it right now," Liam noted quietly. He paused, letting the silence settle. "I'm just passing through town, but I have an interest in how businesses are managed. If you could change one thing, anything about this diner, what would it be?" His question clearly blindsided her. Her expression shifted from guarded resignation to genuine, puzzled curiosity. She looked at him, the scruffy stranger in the corner, as if trying to reconcile his appearance with the depth of his interest. "Why would a customer care about that? Let's call it market research," Liam responded, keeping his tone light yet serious. Before she could elaborate, the curt voice of the man behind the counter sliced through the quiet air. "Clara, booth 7 needs bussing now. Stop wasting time." The man, whose name tag read Marcus Thorne, spoke with an edge of harsh, casual contempt. "Coming, Marcus," she replied, her face instantly returning to the expressionless mask. She squared her shoulders, the momentary spark of frankness extinguished. "I really have to go, sir. Enjoy your coffee." She turned to leave, but Liam's voice stopped her again, softer this time, but carrying the weight of command. "Clara, does he always talk to all of you like that?" She paused, looking back. Her eyes held a flicker of something he recognized, a mix of fear and desperate hope. "He's the manager. He's always stressed. And honestly, it's not just him. This place is run on stress. The ownership doesn't care. The rumors are that the owner barely visits, just sees the numbers. They'll run this place into the ground and then sell off the property to condo developers." Her voice was barely a whisper, a stark, painful truth shared with a total stranger. "That's what I hear anyway." Her words, her raw belief that the owner was an absentee landlord only interested in profit, hit Liam with a wave of unexpected shame. He had been exactly that. He straightened in his seat, suddenly feeling the weight of the denim jacket and the ridiculousness of his disguise. He took another large gulp of the coffee to cover his discomfort. "Thank you, Clara, for your honesty." "Just trying to survive, sir," she repeated, this time with a hint of resignation. She walked away quickly to clear the messy booth, her movements efficient but tight, clearly carrying the weight of Marcus's impatience. For the next 90 minutes, Liam remained a fixture in the booth, nursing his second cup, a keen, calculating observer. The diner slowly filled with its regular clientele, early birds, construction workers, a few local businessmen in slightly rumpled suits. He watched the dynamics, the forced smiles of the staff, the constant low-level harassment from Marcus, whose impatience manifested in loud sighs, table slams, and whispered, demeaning comments directed at his subordinates. Clara, despite the pressure, moved with an almost balletic grace, never dropping a dish, always delivering the correct order, yet her eyes never truly smiled. When she passed Marcus, she would subtly shift her trajectory, a small ingrained avoidance maneuver that spoke volumes about her fear of sudden reprisal. It was clear that the foundation of the diner's failing financials was not market trend. It was a leadership failure that created a toxic, unsustainable work environment. The veneer of a classic, beloved spot was peeling away to reveal a cesspool of injustice. At 7:30 a.m., Liam quietly paid his bill, leaving an excessive $50 tip under the plate, specifically marked for Clara. As he walked toward the door, his eyes met hers one last time across the crowded floor. In that brief, charged moment, Liam saw past the exhaustion. He saw resilience, a fire banked low, but definitely still burning. He saw talent stifled by fear. Outside, he stopped on the sidewalk, the crisp morning air a stark contrast to the stuffy diner. He pulled out his burner phone, dialing his chief of staff, a hyper-efficient man named Elias Vance. No relation to Clara, as far as he knew, but he'd check. "Elias, it's Liam. I need 2 things done by noon today. First, schedule an emergency management meeting at the Golden Spoon for 10 a.m. tomorrow. Do not say who I am. I'll be attending as the new administration's operational consultant. Second, I need a deep, discreet dive on one of the servers. Clara Vance, everything. Resume, employment history, why she's there. Leave no stone unturned. Priority 1. As he hung up, Liam looked back at the grand yellow facade of the diner, its elegant gold leaf lettering proclaiming the Golden Spoon, Esther 1952. He thought of Clara, her 2 simple words that cut through the noise, and the profound injustice of her situation. This was more than just turning around a failing asset. It was about honoring a talent and righting a clear moral wrong. A simple acquisition had just transformed into a personal mission. Liam's penthouse apartment, a glass box suspended 40 stories above the bustling financial district, offered a view of the city that usually calmed his relentlessly active mind. Today, however, the panoramic view of Manhattan's vast concrete tapestry failed to capture his attention. His thoughts were fixated entirely on the faded yellow walls of the Golden Spoon and the quiet despair in Clara's eyes. His chief of staff, Elias Vance, was already waiting for him, meticulously organized as always, holding a slim leather folder. Elias, a man known for his professional discretion, started immediately. "Mr. Hawthorne, the management meeting is set for tomorrow. They believe you are an independent operational auditor. I also have the background on Clara Vance as requested." Liam opened the folder instantly, the first page displaying a clear headshot of Clara, looking younger and less weighed down than she did in the diner. Clara May Vance, age 26, originally from upstate New York. Liam's eyes scanned the documents. "Anything that stands out?" "Yes, sir. Graduated top of her class from the Culinary Institute of America, the Hyde Park campus. She worked for nearly 2 years at the Hearth, a highly rated experimental farm-to-table restaurant. It closed suddenly 9 months ago due to the head chef's unexpected health crisis. She moved to the city, seeking an executive sous chef position, but without the right network, the market has been brutal. She's been waitressing at the Golden Spoon for 7 months to cover rent. Perfect attendance, minimal sick days, praised for her efficiency in her internal reviews, even by Marcus." Elias adjusted his tie. "She's overqualified for the diner exponentially." "A CIA graduate serving burnt toast," Liam murmured, closing the folder slowly, confirming his suspicion that a genuine talent was being wasted. "And the historical data on the diner? 3 significant lawsuits in the last 3 years, all quietly settled for substantial sums, dealing with labor disputes and harassment claims. The employee turnover rate, as you surmised, is astronomically high, 4 times the national average for that sector. Our due diligence team flagged the financials, but missed the cultural toxicity that was causing it. The former owner, Mr. Sterling, was notorious for prioritizing cheap labor and making unilateral degrading decisions." Liam rubbed his temples. He prided himself on ethical acquisitions, and the oversight was frustrating. "Find the former general manager, the one right before Marcus. I need to speak with them before tomorrow's meeting." Later that morning, Liam changed from his suit into the same casual attire from the day before, reapplying the dishevelment necessary for his alias. He returned to the Golden Spoon, this time choosing a smaller, less conspicuous 2-seater booth near the service station. He knew his continued presence was risky, but he needed a second dose of unvarnished truth, and he knew Clara could deliver it. When she approached his table, her surprise was evident, though she tried to mask it with her professional veneer. "Oh, the black coffee gentleman is back," she said, managing a brief, genuine smile that momentarily lit up her face. "The coffee is excellent, and I'm intrigued by your critique," Liam replied, smiling back. "I'm here to try that buttermilk pancake you mentioned. A cappuccino and the pancakes coming right up." She looked around nervously, sensing Marcus's presence hovering near the kitchen entrance. When she returned, placing the plate of pancakes and the delicate foam-topped coffee before him, Liam noticed a fresh wave of tension on her face. "You look more stressed than yesterday," he commented, lowering his voice. "What did Marcus say now?" Clara sighed, her eyes darting away. "He just commented on the consultant coming tomorrow. Everyone's terrified. We all know what happens when consultants show up. It means cuts, tighter shifts, and more impossible standards. We just want to keep our jobs." Liam picked up his fork, cutting into the fluffy pancake. "I assure you the new ownership's interest is in growth, not cuts. It's about understanding why a place with this history is failing. And that, Clara, requires honesty. I'm going to order another coffee. When you bring it, I want you to tell me with complete honesty what's wrong with these pancakes. You're CIA, aren't you? I read up on the history of this diner. Culinary Institute of America material doesn't usually settle for diner pancakes. Clara's eyes widened, her face flushing crimson. How did you know that? The CIA? A guess. You have the posture of a professional, not a career waitress. Liam lied smoothly, covering his tracks. Now, the pancakes. She hesitated, then leaned in, her passion momentarily overriding her fear. They're heavy. Too much flour, not enough rise. We use low-grade vegetable oil on the griddle. It needs to be clarified butter, and the mix is ancient. The fruit is canned, not fresh. If I ran the kitchen, I'd scrap the entire menu and relaunch with a focus on regional American comfort food. Classic, but refined. Think a savory sweet potato hash instead of hash browns. A sourdough starter for the pancakes. As she spoke, the weariness left her eyes, replaced by a bright, urgent intelligence. It was breathtaking. Regional American comfort food, Liam repeated, intrigued. How would you rebrand it? The golden spoon is a bit tarnished. Clara looked around the room, her gaze turning critical and visionary. This place needs a soul. The gold leaf is tacky. We need warmth. The Hearthstone Diner. It's about the heart, the fire, the community. The menu would feature high-quality, locally sourced ingredients. Our uniforms would be dignified, not these cheap polyester things. And most importantly, the kitchen would be run by respect. She stopped, realizing how much she had revealed. I'm sorry. I get carried away. It's foolish to dream like this. It's not foolish at all, Liam countered, setting his fork down. It's brilliant. You see beyond the grease traps and the bad accounting. You see the potential. He made a decision then and there. He wouldn't just hire her, he would back her. The meeting with the former manager, Evelyn Carter, confirmed everything. Evelyn, a sharp woman in her early 50s, had been forced out 6 months ago after confronting the previous owner about Marcus's verbal abuse and attempts to cut wages below the legal minimum. Marcus runs the floor on fear, Mr. Consultant, Evelyn told Liam, still believing he was a third-party auditor. He thrives in the chaos and reports nothing but perfect order to the owner. He specifically targets the talented ones, the ones with potential, like Clara, because their talent threatens his own position. He keeps them exhausted and afraid. Evelyn provided Liam with meticulously documented evidence, including secret employee testimony and financial logs showing manipulated hours. Armed with this damning evidence, Liam walked into the 10 a.m. management meeting the next day, still in his undercover denim and glasses, appearing unassuming. Marcus and the two co-managers, a cynical financial controller named Sheila and an oblivious kitchen lead named Greg, awaited him. Liam sat at the head of the large conference table, flanked by Elias, who was taking furious notes. Good morning. I'm here on behalf of the new administration to conduct a thorough operational audit, Liam began, his voice flat and authoritative, a stark contrast to his casual appearance. Marcus, overly confident, immediately began to prattle. Sir, as I told the previous owner's representative, operations here are seamless, high customer satisfaction, low food waste, and we run a very lean staff, keeping labor costs down. Liam pushed a file across the table. Your labor costs are low because you coerce employees into signing off on shorter shifts than they actually work, Mr. Thorne. I have logs here that show Clara Vance has worked 15 hours of uncompensated overtime this week alone. Marcus paled. Liam continued, his voice hardening. Your customer satisfaction has actually fallen 25% in the last quarter, precisely because your staff is miserable and the turnover rate is astronomical. That isn't a lean operation, it's financial and moral decay. He spent the next hour dismantling their defenses, presenting Evelyn's data and his own observations. Marcus went from smug confidence to sweaty, furious denial. Sheila attempted a clumsy financial cover-up. Greg simply stared blankly. Liam ended the meeting abruptly. I've seen enough. I will be circulating the diner one last time today. Tomorrow I deliver my full report. Expect significant structural changes. After the managers scrambled out, reeling from the sudden merciless scrutiny, Liam instructed Elias to prepare the termination papers for Marcus, Sheila, and Greg, effective immediately. He then put the final touch on his emerging plan. He would offer Clara the chance to lead the transformation. As a gesture of trust, he would show her he truly believed in her vision, the Hearthstone Diner, and her passion. He knew this would be difficult. that the initial deception might wound her, but the opportunity he was about to give her was worth the initial pain. He needed her vision. She needed his resources. The partnership was professionally destined, even if the personal dynamics were about to get very complicated. He needed to talk to her one last time, to offer the contract before the full weight of his identity hit her. The tension was palpable, thick enough to taste in the stale morning air of the Golden Spoon's tiny, rarely used basement storeroom, where Liam had convened an emergency all-hands staff meeting. The air was filled with an anxious mix of confusion and fear. 15 employees, from the dishwashers to the other waitresses, huddled around a makeshift setup, their eyes flickering nervously between Marcus, who stood rigidly next to the financial controller, Sheila, and Liam, who was walking into the room flanked by Elias and a woman who looked vaguely familiar to the older staff, Evelyn Carter. Then Clara saw him. Liam, the man in the worn denim jacket, the operational consultant who had discussed pancakes and passion with her, walked in wearing a perfectly tailored, dark charcoal suit, his hair neatly slicked back, his clean-shaven face revealing the sharp, commanding features she had never fully seen beneath the disguise. The cheap glasses were replaced by a look of intense, serious authority. Her breath hitched. The simple, scruffy customer was gone. In his place stood the very definition of corporate power. "Good morning, everyone," Liam began, his voice booming slightly in the cramped space, immediately commanding silence. "My name is Liam Hawthorne. I am not a consultant or a customer. I am the new owner of the Golden Spoon." A collective gasp swept through the room. Clara felt a sudden wave of dizziness, the shock rooting her to the spot. Her mind reeled. He knew. He saw everything. He lied. Liam did not pause. He went directly to the attack, a calculated, necessary move to dismantle the old regime. The structural decay of this diner is not financial. It is moral. Mr. Thorne and Ms. Hayes, your unethical practices, documented coercion of staff, and systemic abuse have been catalogued by my team. Your employment is terminated immediately. Your severance papers and final paychecks are with my Chief of Staff, Mr. Vance. You have 1 hour to clear your personal belongings and leave the premises. Marcus erupted in a furious, sweaty rage. "You can't do this. I stabilized this place. This is a disgrace. You'll hear from my lawyers." Liam merely gestured toward the 2 large, silent security personnel who had discreetly entered the room. "You stabilized nothing, Mr. Thorne. You fostered a toxic culture that drove away talent and customers. You are being let go for cause. I suggest you consult your legal team about the documentation we possess regarding labor law violations." Marcus, cowed by the presence of security and the cold finality in Liam's eyes, snatched the folder from Elias and stormed out, Sheila trailing behind, her face white with fear. Liam waited for the door to slam shut, then turned to the remaining staff, his voice softening just enough to be human, but retaining its core authority. "The Golden Spoon will be reborn. Effective immediately, we are instituting a new culture built on respect, fair pay, transparent scheduling, and zero tolerance for harassment. To lead this operational change, I'm pleased to announce that Evelyn Carter is returning as the diner's general manager, with full autonomy to reorganize schedules and processes." A spontaneous burst of relieved applause rippled through the staff, many of whom remembered Evelyn fondly. Then Liam's eyes finally found Clara, and a different kind of intensity entered his voice, one heavy with professional regard and personal anticipation. "And to lead the complete conceptual and culinary revitalization of this diner, to design and implement the vision of the Hearthstone Diner, I am formally offering the position of executive concept chef and consultant to Clara Vance." Clara felt every eye in the room drill into her. Her heart hammered against her ribs, the offer ringing in her ears. Yet the initial euphoria was instantly strangled by the profound sense of betrayal. She managed a rigid nod when Liam politely requested to speak with her privately. Did you enjoy this video? And more importantly, what is the most valuable lesson you learned from Clara's resilience and Liam's commitment to finding the truth? Share your reflections below.